Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is HAFIZAH binti AHMAD JAAFAR and my metric number is 12100064. We are from Group 5, want to present about book review. Let's begin the introduction of this book. The title of the book is Christians and Muslims from Double Standards to Mutual Understandings, was written by Goddard. He is a lecturer in Islamic Theology at University of Nottingham, London, United Kingdom. The book was first published in 1995 by Crescent Press. The book edition published in the Taylor and French's Library in 2005. There was 214 pages with 8 chapters, which are: first, origins; second, scriptures; third, the development of religious thought; fourth, law and ethics; fifth, worship and spirituality; sixth, unity and diversity; seventh, spirit and history; and the last one, eighth, modern development.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Najwa binti Muhammad Zakaria. My metric number is 1211585. And now we continue to the concept from the book. This book have 8 chapter. The first one is origin. Origin is tell about a Christian origin and Islam community. First, Christian origin, it tell about Jesus was a Jew who lived in the Roman occupied province of Palestine. It had been broadly monotheistic for over a millennium, worshipping the one God in either temple or synagogue. 3 groups very important, which is Pharisees, Sadducees, Zealots. They also differ over religious and theological question, which is whether or not human being would be resurrected after death, or the overruling of God, in other words, predestination. The second is Islamic community. Most of Arabia before the time of Muhammad remained in what might be called an animistic phase development. It also tells about the biography Prophet Muhammad SAW. There have been some events, which is the first one is the story of Hajar al-Aswad. The second one is the story of the Prophet was appointed as a messenger. The third, some Makkah people accepted and joined Islam. The people of Yathrib were invited to come to Mecca to mediate in some disputes. This event is known as Hijrah. Abu Bakr was the first caliph after the death of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. Belief in God leads to a united society and is an important element in Islamic society. Now, chapter 2 is about the scriptures. The first one, substantially different section. Old Testament 39 book, New Testament 27 book. Second one, Al-Quran is thus the record of the prophetic revelation received during the 22-year period of his career. The Quran is much more straightforward than the Christian. It is approximately the same length as the New Testament, all in the same language, which is Arabic. The third, Al-Quran, in Osman time, consonants were written without vowels, and there was a vowel in the time of Caliph Abdul Malik. The fourth, Bible is divided into chapters and verses from Stephen Lenton. It is not possible to make a comparison between Quran and the Bible. The chapter is about the development of religions. It divided into 2, which is early Christian thought and early Muslim thought. Early Christian thought, there's 2, which is internal and external. Internal is about focus on doctrine and issue concerning relationship between follower of Jesus and Jewish. Christian claim that Jesus is Messiah, but Jewish reject it. In the same time of Alexander the Great had spread with Hellenistic culture. Christian expressed their faith would be influenced by Hellenistic. This idea by Christian attempt to elaborate and formulate their view of Jesus. Idea of Old Testament to the relationship between God and His people. In New Testament writings, we see a number of attempts to point to the special status of Jesus. In order to clarify exact relationship between Jesus and God, they resolve the tension of Church Council so many times. The second one, external. Discussion concerning about Christian should adopt toward intellectual tradition. Christian be official religion, the Roman Empire. The development close between church and the political authorities. In West, the intellectual will collapse because of external traits and break down the political, economic, and social by Roman. The second one, early Muslim thought. That is 2, internal and external. Internal, it tell about after Prophet Muhammad SAW that is the next ruler will continue by Khulafa ar-Rashidin. Ottoman has been murdered by a group of soldiers from Egypt. After his death, the next ruler continued with Ali, but it's not have been approved by Bani Umayyah. The reason is Ali did not submit the murder of Ottoman to the book. Because of that, there was misunderstanding, and there was a third party, which is Khawarij. After several disputes, Ali was killed by the follower of Khawarij, and the next leader of Islam will be from people from Umayyah, which is Muawiyah. After this conflict, they still argue by saying that they are very qualified to be a leader. From this story, we know the importance of respect to the organization in Muslim community. For the external, the problem in the application of the Greek tradition. There are some Islamic thinkers who think it positively and some of them think it negatively. Ahmad ibn Hanbal give a negative view of this Greek philosophy. Greek philosophical thought did not have a positive effect on Islam. Islamic thinker, which is Al-Ghazali, having studied about philosophy, ultimately he rejected the knowledge. R.W. Salter says that Western European scholars like Gabbard learned about Greek philosophy and science through Ibn Sina. Later, the Islamic will begin to destroy the Greek tradition. The main factor of this change because some Islamic thinkers who play an important role in Islam. Next is about law and ethics. Law and ethics, they are divided into two, which is Islamic law and Christian ethics. Islamic law is about in earlier Arab time, the community practiced sunnah, not the law. After the death of Prophet, Islam grew in a large area. As a result, a certain position of influence and power, the message as recorded in the Quran has begun to include what can be called legislation or legal material. Mostly in the Quran is suitable for this situation, issues such as arrangement in Islamic society. Al-Quran is important as divine guidance and legal guidance. Muslim leaders find themselves having to provide guidance and rule for Muslim country. The first basis of Sharia is the Quran. There are four principles in Islamic law, which is Al-Quran, Hadith, Qiyas and Ijma'. Hadith collection, that is the most significant, Bukhari and Muslim. In theory, therefore Sharia, based on these four principles, provided a comprehensive guidance system for Muslim for all areas of life. Then is Christian ethics. This teaching comes from the Old Testament, known as the Torah. The school of Judaism that emphasizes the Torah law the most is the Christians. It should not surprise us if there seem to be difference between Jesus and some aspect of Judaism in morality. Among the aspect of discussion in early Christianity is the first one, accelerating the process of Judaism and Christianity to develop separately. The second, the tendency in the Christian community to see the law somewhat negatively. The combination of idea and religion causes a relative lack interest in the law. Paul teaching on the freedom led to the clear impact on the morality and early Christian community. Commandment in the term of two principles in brief of the New Testament: love God with all your heart and mind and soul, and love others as yourself. Aristotle discussed about the Christian tradition of the seven virtues and the seven deadly sins. Seven virtues, which is faith, hope, love, wisdom, justice, moderation, and perseverance, while the seven sins were anger, pride, lust, laziness, gluttony, greed, and envy. The Christian and Muslim tradition of working and formulating moral guidance for their members are different. Islamic tradition is Sharia as the main source, while Christian society, ethics has been the main focus of attention.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is NADIA, AMANI, AFZAN, BINTI, MAZELAN. My metric number 1213165. Okay, the next part is worship and spirituality. Number one, worship is central to both Islam and Christianity. As we know, Muslim and Christians both believe in the importance of prayer, fasting, charity, and pilgrimage, among others acts of worships. From a Muslim perspective, worship is primarily centered around the concept of submission to Allah. Muslims engage in a variety of practices, including daily prayers, fasting during the months of Ramadan, giving to charity, and participating in the pilgrimage to Mecca. Through this act of worship, Muslims seek to establish a closer connection with Allah and deeper their faith. On the other hand, Christianity places a strong emphasis on the relationship between God and humanity and the concept of salvation through faith in Jesus Christ. Christians engage in a variety of practices, including prayer, attending church service, reading the Bible, and partaking in the sacraments. Through these practices, Christians seek to strengthen their relationship with God and follow the teaching of Jesus Christ. Next, number two, the book argues that there is often a double standard when it comes to comparing Muslim and Christian worships. For example, Muslims are sometimes criticized for their emphasis on ritual, while Christians are praised for their emphasis on personal relationship with God. The book challenges these assumptions and show how both religions have their own unique approach to worships. Number three is the book also explores the concept of spirituality in both religions. Muslims and Christians both believe in the importance of connecting with God through prayer, meditation, and other spiritual practices. However, there are also differences in how these practices are approached and understood. Number four is the book emphasizes the importance of mutual understanding between Muslim and Christians when it comes to worship and spirituality. It happens by learning from one another and respecting each other's practices and belief. Both groups deepen their own faith and find common ground.
My name is HAFIZAH binti Ahmad JAAFAR and my metric number is 1210064. Next we go to unity and diversity. The Islamic community. Muslims and Christians have a significant similarity in that they have a dream to foster unity in their society. Both also have the belief that God is one. For the Muslim community, there is a big split between Sunni and Shia Muslims that happened after the death of Prophet Muhammad SAW. The two groups developed in different ways, even though they actually came from the same roots. The percentage of Shia is in the range of 10% until 15%, whose majority followers are from Iran, Lebanon, India, and Pakistan. While Sunni is 85% until 90%. The most significant difference of opinion between Sunni Muslims and Shia is about the Mahdi Imam and the 12 great Imams. This understanding is contrary to Sunni Muslims who believe in the teachings brought by the Prophet Muhammad SAW based on the Quran and the Sunnah revealed by Allah SWT as His Majesty's miracles. In addition, the Shia people practice rituals that are contrary to Sunni Muslims and have been the cause of divisions and separations of these two large groups. This event is known as the last prayer to commemorate the death of the third Imam Shia, which is held on the 10th day of the month of Muharram. Sunni Muslims still respect the death of the beloved grandson of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, Al-Hussein, who was killed because of the tyrannical government at the time, and the decades by Metaya, while the Shia hit their bodies with swords and iron chains until they bleed and something. Furthermore, there is also a difference between the two societies, namely that Sunni Muslims has 4 sectors of 4 different imams, but the Sufis are different because they have their own rituals and leadership structures, and they admit that there are many variations of practice in the Islamic society. In the 20th century, there was a Jama'at Tabligh movement, literally preaching group, which was sparked by Ilyas and Ikhwan and Al-Muslim, which was established by Albani in Egypt in 1928 as an effort to develop a more sincere Islamic message through this kind of movement. This division occurs because the Shia Muslims are included 12 imams and addition occult knowledge known as Ashar and Sabiyah, literally 12, which is against the true teaching of Islam. There is also a third group of Shia, which is Zaid, who is taken by name of Zaid bin Amri, who is considered to be the 5th Imam of Shia. Besides Sunni and Shia, there is another group which is Al-Khawarij, separated and removed literally. This group of Shia and Khawarij was split, and its relationship with Islam is quite weak. In Islamic society, unity is one ummah is very important to avoid any division. Different relationships will cause tension and hostility in general. However, disagreement in the Muslim community are still able to maintain an extraordinary level of unity despite disagreements about Islamic law, such as the one that happened to the 2 founders of the Sunnah wal Jama'ah group. Next, the Christian community. The separation between Eastern and Western Christianity was caused by the closer relationship between the Christianity Church and the Roman Empire after the conversion of Emperor Constantine to Christianity in 312. Jerusalem, Antioch, Alexandria, and Constantinople were the other 4 of these 5 centers, but only Rome was located in the western part of the Roman Empire. Different perceptions of authority have developed as a result of this, since not a single center can make decisions on its own and all centers have to agree for those decisions to be valid. The East tends to have a more diffuse understandings or consensus, while the West tends to develop more centralized understanding of power because a single center has no rival. Differences in language and theology add to the division between East and West on the subject of authority. Greek, the language philosophical reflection, is most often spoken in East, while Latin, the language of law, is more often spoken in the West. The division of the Roman Empire in 395 into two parts as a result of the bifurcation process. The collapse of half of the Roman Empire in 476 left the church vulnerable but still retained spiritual power despite being separated from the political power of the empire and rebuilding a new political power. Next, ecumenism. Church among Christians has given rise to an ecumenical movement aimed at restoring Christianity to unity. Originated from Protestant Christianity in the 19th century due to awareness of the damage done to the spirit of the Christian church outside of Europe, namely the Eastern Orthodox Church and Chalcedon. Muslim society has now witnessed attempts to reconcile between different groups, calling for the unity of Muslims and opposing Europeans' influence in Islamic world. Is Al-Afghah proposal to reconcile Sunni and Shia. Peace in Europe remained unsuccessful due to theological, political, and linguistic differences.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is NORAISYAH binti ABDUL. The spread of Islam in history has been a topic of immense interest to scholars and historians over the centuries. The book Christians and Muslim, From Double Standards to Mutual Understanding, provides an insightful analysis of this topic. According to this book, the spread of Islam can be traced back to the early 7th century when Prophet Muhammad SAW began preaching the message of Islam in Mecca. Over time, Islam gained in popularity among the Arabian tribes and expanded rapidly across the Arabian Peninsula. One of the key factors that contribute to the spread of Islam was the military conquest of Muslim armies. They were able to defeat the Byzantine and Persian empires, which weakened their hold on various territories and allowed Islam to flourish. Another important factor that led to the spread of Islam was the appeal of its message to non-Arab peoples. Islam offered a universal message of equality and brotherhood that transcended ethnic and tribal boundaries. This made it attractive to many seeking spiritual fulfillment and a sense of belonging. Despite this success, note that the spread of Islam was not always peaceful or well received by all. Christian and Jewish communities living under Muslim rule faced restriction and discrimination at times, although there were also periods of coexistence and cultural exchange. The third phase of Islam spread started about around the same time as the process of conversion to Islam in Africa. This stage of the faith's development was much more similar to the early stage when it first spread as a result of military conquest
the Turks were the main promoters of Islam throughout this third stage of its development. A significant number of Turks had already migrated into the Islamic Empire before some Turkish tribes in Central Asia converted to Islam. They were employed as soldiers. They eventually played a crucial part in maintaining the Caliph's rule in Baghdad. The Turkish population grew significantly both within the Islamic Empire and on the frontiers, where a number of Turkish tribes spearhead the empire's subsequent expansion. This way through primarily in two instances. First, the Seljuk Turks in Asia Minor, or what is now Turkey, launched a campaign against the Byzantine Empire with the intention of expelling them from Asia Minor with the expansion of the coastal regions. When Mehmed II conquered Constantinople in 1453 over 657, a later Turkish group known as the Ottoman Turks were ultimately responsible for the collapse of the Byzantine Empire. Additionally, much of the Balkans, including what is now Greece, the former Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Romania, and even Hungary, came under Ottoman Turkish rule. Next, Islam has continued to grow throughout Africa during this fourth and ongoing phase of its globalization, and several missionary organizations have been successful in establishing Islam as a viable religion in practically every nation on earth. Islam has most recently been present in North America and Western Europe as a result of migration seeking employment. With around 1,400,000 Muslims in Britain and 6 million Muslims in all of Western Europe. For example, Islam is currently the second largest religious community in the former. There are also likely 3 million Muslims in the latter. It should be noted the migration, not conversion, is what led to this process. But even so, there are other factors at play. As a result, Islam has gone through 4 major stages of development and now a truly global religion. The first, which lasts for almost a century, witnessed a remarkable growth of an Islamic empire, which while did not compel conversion to Islam, yet create the circumstance that allowed the bulk of the population to convert to Islam throughout the years. This region mainly consists of today's Arab world plus Iran. Beyond the boundaries of the Islamic Empire, particularly in Central Asia and Africa, the second phase of the spread of Islam occurred peacefully. Beyond the boundaries of the Islamic Empire, particularly in Central Asia and Africa, the Islam religion spread peacefully throughout its second phase. The third stage saw yet another conquest followed by an expansion, this time by Turkish tribes. During this period, Islam took control of Asia Minor, the Balkans, and the majority of the Indian subcontinent. The fourth phase, which is still ongoing, remembers the second phase more than it does the first. Southeast Asia has been the most significant region for the peaceful spread of Islam during this time. However, as this phase progressed, Islam has genuinely become a global religion, both practically and conceptually. However, as this phase continues, Islam has genuinely become a universal religion beliefs, both in theory and practice. As a result, this process appears certain to continue into the near future. Next, the spread of Christianity. Jesus, as we have already seen, lived and worked in Palestine, which also happened to be a province of the Roman Empire, one of the major international powers at the time. It was not long before the attention of the Christian community shift from the concerns of the Jewish community in Palestine to the larger religious concerns of the Roman world. When his disciples came to write down their accounts of Jesus' life and significance, they did so in the lingua franca of the eastern part of the empire, Greek. One of the main builders of this change was the Apostle Paul, and the outcomes of this change are demonstrated by the vivid descriptions of his missionary voyages in the book of Acts. In the beginning, Paul made connections with the local Jewish synagogue in many cities. These synagogues frequently include a group of proselytes, non-Jews who adopted Jewish doctrines and practice attached to them, who served as a gateway into the larger community. Paul also traveled to places like Athens, where there was a small but notable Jewish population, and engaged in conversation with members of the powerful philosophical schools of the day. The status and position of Christians in the empire underwent a significant upheaval as a result of Constantine's conversion. From being a defectless minority, they developed strong ties to the state and were able to significantly influence its policies. As a result, for instance, Sunday was designated as a day of rest, and even the taxation system started to be used to promote Christianity, but occasionally this had unintended and even unwanted results. After all, Constantine had his own motives for accepting Christianity that were not always of a spiritual nature, and it did not take long for church leaders to feel the need to distance themselves from the occasionally even fight official actions. Thus, in the 6th century, the state of the Byzantine Empire, which succeeded the eastern half of the Roman Empire, started to identify itself rather specifically as a Christian state, and official authority was employed against anyone who dared to disagree. Jews, for instance, were occasionally forced into baptism, and in Western Europe, certain nations that had embraced Christianity did not hesitate to combine political and military expansion with the forceful conversion of conquered peoples to Christianity in the years after the fall of the Roman Empire in the West in 476. The campaigns Charlemagne led against the Saxons in the late 8th or early 2nd century are possible the best illustration of this. The famous exploration trips on Portuguese and Spanish explorers like Vasco da Gama and Christopher Columbus, who sailed around the Cape of Good Hope and across the Atlantic Ocean, took place in the later years of the 15th or 9th century. Given the intimate ties between church and state in each of those nations, it is not unexpected that throughout their colonial territories, each tried to spread the Christian faith in a variety of ways. The Spanish conquistadors in America initially continued the Crusader tradition of first conversion, but some, like Bartholomew Lascelles, 1566 over 973, vehemently objected to this and sought to use peaceful method for the dissemination of the Christian message. And in Asia, where the Portuguese quickly encountered ancient and well-established religious tradition, some Christian miscreants were able to spread their religions without offending the locals. This more peaceful approach is exemplified by people like Matthew Ricci in China and Robert de Nobili in India. For arguments have been offered as to why the early Protestant generation generally show little interest in the task of bringing the Christian message outside of Europe. First, the early Protestants believed that the apostle would belong to the first generation of Christians and already complete the command given by Jesus to the end of the Gospel of St. Matthew to preach to the ends of the earth. Second, Protestant thinking on the relationship between church and state tended to result in the view that mission was the responsibility of civil rulers rather than the church independently. Third, Protestant thinking on the relationship between church and the state tended to the result in the view that mission was the task of civil rulers rather than for the church independently. Fourth, the understandable preoccupation with securing the position of protesters led to a strong belief in election or predestination of some people to preclude the need for mission. The phenomenon of modernity. The word modernity serves as a useful shorthand for a variety of trends and advancements that have, generally speaking, emerged over the past 2 centuries. Thus, in terms of politics, the French Revolution of 1789 over 12-3 and the American Declaration of Independence of 1776 over 11-19 have had a significant impact on ideas about how societies should be governed, leading to the establishment of republics on every continent and, in many cases, constitutions that clearly distinguish between religion and the state. In addition to playing its traditional roles in the areas of law, foreign policy and taxation, the modern state has expanded significantly in the range of activities it engages in. It now intervenes in every aspect of life, including health and education. After that, one direction fundamentalism. The first is in the theological sense, specifically referring to the certain perspective of scripture and the circumstance surrounding its creation. Second, the term fundamentalism is employed in philosophical sense, namely to describe a negative attitude towards using a critical approach when studying the scriptures. There is a vast range of opinion in both faiths about this matter, with various discussions occurring in some Christian circles regarding whether or not biblical criticism somehow affects the standing and authority of the Bible. Despite the fact that the critical study of the Bible is well established in mainline Protestant church, a negative response to the question appears to be gaining favor in many areas. A third part of fundamentalism is sociological in the nature and has to do with sectarianism, or belonging to a group that believes the only members of the group are true believers. Generally speaking, this school of truth has a stronger hold on Christianity than it does on Islam. This is due in part of the fact that in its early history, the Christian church was essentially a sect, and in part to the enormous amount of diversities that exist within the Christian community, as discussed in chapter 6 above. This has led to the creation of numerous tiny groups that admit that they alone are the true believers, and that those who identify as Christian have actually strayed from the path. Fourth, the term fundamentalism is used historically to refer the religiously conservative or seeking the return to the roots of a faith. As a result, the place back to the foundations of fundamentals is frequently implied. Thus, those who hold this opinion tend to have a deep mistrust of modernity, which is mirrored by a certain idealism in regards to the community earliest day.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is UMAIRAH Sofia binti MASKOR. My matrix number 1211640. Next, we move about methodology that this book uses, which is two methodology. First methodology is by using qualitative that tell about the facts obtained from other researchers and sources. Second methodology is use a quantitative method that is collecting data from data collection.
Our opinion about this book is the book is divided into several chapters, each covering a different aspect of Islam and Christianity. One of the central terms of the book is the need for mutual understanding and respect between the two faiths. Dr. Ayub emphasized that the importance of recognizing the similarities between Islam and Christianity, such as the belief in one God, the importance of prayer, and the role of prophet. At the same time, he acknowledged the differences between the two faiths and highlights the need for dialogue and engagement to overcome misunderstanding and bridge gaps. Moreover, this book is an excellent resource for those interested in interfaith dialogue. It provides a wealth of information on the history and belief of both religions, as well as practical advice for engaging in constructive dialogue with people of different faiths. The book also includes a comprehensive bibliography of sources for further reading and research. Overall, this book is an insightful and well-researched study that promotes mutual understanding and encourages constructive dialogue between the followers of Islam and Christianity. It is an essential read for anyone seeking to deepen their understanding of these two important faiths and promote peace and harmony between different religious communication.
Last but not least, the conclusion. First is about the affirmation of the existence of God. Al-Quran said in verse 8 in Surah Taha, means there is no God worthy of worship except Him. He has the most beautiful names. Although we know about these two religions are different about how God has been described. Next conclusion is about the early history of Islam and Christianity. Christian origin was Jesus, was a Jew, lived in the Roman occupied, while Islam was spread in the time of Prophet Muhammad SAW. Next, about the scripture of these two religions. In the Christian religions, the scriptures are Bible, which has Old Testament and New Testament. For Muslim, as we know, we have Al-Quran, which is a reference throughout the ages. Last, we can understand and increase our knowledge of these two religions deeper. That's all from us. Thank you.